Hello and welcome to another video from Indzara.com. In this video, I will be presenting the asset rental invoice and receipt Excel template. This template can be used to create and manage invoices and receipts for a rental business in cases where you are renting certain items or assets to your customers in exchange for a fee for the rental. And if you want to create invoices that you can send to your customers, and also when the customer makes a payment, you want to issue a receipt acknowledging that the payment has been received. Then you can use this free template to create and manage those invoices and receipts. In this video, I will explain how you can do that, and I will also be providing a link to the template page which you can download from Indzara.com for free and create your own invoices and receipts for your business. Now let's get started. Now what we see here is the Excel template, and I have already entered some business information here as a starting, and then you'll see on the right side some information that will help you get started with using the template. So this is the first page. There will also be a link to the blog post where I will have detailed description, screenshots, and video tutorials on how to use this template. In terms of the features, the template can be used to create invoices and receipts. You will have a lot of option to customize it. You will also be able to save a lot of time because a lot of the calculations are automated, and you can handle discounts and tax rates in the template if that's applicable to your business. You'll also save a lot of time because you don't have to enter the customer information and again, or the product information and again. Now let's get started with the initial setup of this template. First, we enter the business information here. In this case, I've entered some sample business information and the contact details. This will automatically get populated in our invoice. Then we enter the payment method. So these are the methods that we can accept payment from our customers. So I have chosen cash and bank transfer, but in your case, if it is, for example, if you want to add credit card, you can do so. You can enter your payment methods that way. Including the return date, is it yes or no? Let's say, for example, you're renting assets to your customers from February 1st to February 15th. Would it count as 15 days of rental or 14? If in your case it's 15, then choose yes for this, including the return date setting. If in your business, if it is only 14, counted as 14, then choose no. So you can make this work according to your business policies. Now that we have entered the settings, let's go to the asset sheet. This is where we will enter the complete list of assets that our business will be renting out. And I'm assuming here an example where we are renting out digital photography products or items. And so I've entered some names and descriptions, and also I'm giving a unique number to each of my asset. And then you can either do it as, I've entered here the price that I will be charging my customers per day of renting each of these items. And you can also enter a unit of measurement, like in most cases I can think of, it'll be like an item, like a count of an item that you're renting. So I've entered count here, but in your case, you can customize this field to whatever attribute that you want to capture for your asset. Taxable, yes or no, and this is where you can enter whether a specific item should be taxed or not. And if you don't want it to be taxed, just choose no. By default, everything is taxable, so you don't have to keep entering yes. You'll just say no. If it is not, that's it. There is also an option to provide custom fields. I understand that each business is different. So in your case, if you want something else to be captured, then just rename this field like my own field, something, whatever you want to capture. Maybe you want to capture the weight of something, or maybe the color of something, or you can enter your own field here. Let me just choose color, and I can then type in blue, yellow, green, something like that for my different assets. You can also add more columns by typing in a new value here and extend. That's if in case you need more and more data to be captured on the asset level. Now let's go to the second next thing, which is the customers. This is where we can enter a list of our customers who we rent out our items to. And I've entered 3 samples here. I've given a name, an address, contact information for each of those customers. Similarly, you can enter more information, you can customize the field if you need more attributes to be captured for customers. Now that we have done those, now let's get the invoice sheet set up. Before we start creating our own invoices, there are a few things that I would recommend you to do, which would be change the logo, change the picture here from a file, and then choose a picture from or image file from your computer. Then that becomes your logo. And then you also want to make sure that if there is anything else, like for example, notes, this is what I've entered by default, please pay within 30 days. If it's something different for your customers, then you will just enter your own notes or message that you want all your invoices to have. So now, once you do that, the last thing I would recommend you to do is to change the currency. I know we don't see any currency here. Let me remove that. We don't see any currency amounts here, but what I do want to tell you is that I would recommend you to go to Control G, and now you'll see CURRINV, hit OK, that's the currency cells. So you can see that all these cells are automatically selected now. Now you can do Control 1, and then you will change this to currency and whatever the currency is. So let's say I choose dollars, that's it. Now nothing is happening yet, but I'll show you how all this works. But now you've modified the currency settings. Now you're good to go to create our first invoice. In the invoice creation step, you will see that there are some light blue colored cells here. This is where we start. So let's start creating an invoice. Let's say our invoice number is 1234. You can number it however we want, but I'm just gonna start creating an invoice with the 1234 number as my invoice number. And then the date will be, let's say I'm creating it on February 1st, 2021. And then I can choose this invoice to be for this customer. And immediately the address gets populated. And now when my rental is going to start, when is it going to start? So let's say it's going to start Feb 5th. And then the customer should return back Feb 10th. And then the payment due date is, let's say for example, it is February 25th. Now the template automatically calculates that there are totally 6 days of rental from 5th Feb to 10th Feb. Okay, now let's go to entering the details of my invoice. So this is where I can say, for example, my first item is asset ID 1. I'm gonna, this is my description, and maybe, instead of the unit column, if I want a name to be appear here, I can change it. So these two columns are customizable, like you can choose what you want to display. And then the quantity would be, let's say I'm renting out one, it says it's already $150 as the rental price. And since it's for 6 days, it automatically calculates 900. And you can see that it is the amount after tax, and this is taxable, but we haven't entered the tax rate yet. I'll show you where to enter. But before we go there, if you have any discounts to apply, let's say I have a discount of $10, then I can apply, it automatically does it for us. So now let's go to the second line, and I say, I'm gonna have another asset that I'm renting, one unit of that or one quantity. And then this time I don't have any discounts, and it automatically calculates this. Okay, let's just say, imagine that there's only 2 items here. I'm gonna go here and explain first the options that you have in terms of tax rates. As I go down below, you see that the subtotal is automatically calculated. And now I can actually add 10% as my tax rate, and you see that the amount's updated everywhere. And you can also choose to show amount before tax here. So if you don't want the tax to be included, you have flexibility there as well. And now the tax rate is applied here, and we get this. And let me change this to amount after tax. Even if you show amount after tax, the tax is separately calculated here. I just wanted to show you that. So the subtotal is without the tax, and then the tax is separately shown here. Subtotal plus tax will be automatically calculated here. Now, if I want to do any discounts amount, so let's say I want to do $44 of discount, then I can do that here. If instead I don't want to do a discount amount, I want to do a discount percentage, just generally the discount percentage, you need to enter them in decimals. So I can do 0.1 for 10%. But how do I make that percent applicable? So I just change this, and now it's applying 10% discount. It automatically will calculate for us, and it'll calculate the final invoice total. And this is how the template will automate a lot of the calculations for you, and it'll still give you the flexibility to change the tax rate for each invoice. You can apply discount at each invoice differently, discount percent or discount amount. So now all of this is, pretty straightforward now. If in case you want to change instead of the description, I can change this to name, and I can change this to unit. So basically your invoice columns are flexible. One additional change that I want to highlight here is, if in your business you don't manage the asset identification by numbers or IDs, if you do it by name of the asset, that's still fine. You can just now change, hey, I want to give my name as my input to the invoice, and then now I can change this to description, and now it becomes name as my entry, description automatically calculated. Great. So a lot more flexibility. I understand that different businesses, manage assets differently. So we want to make sure that this is actually meeting a lot of people's needs. So look forward to your feedback if this is actually helpful or not. So now that we have created our first invoice, now let me talk about how do you create more invoices with this template. So there are two ways. One is you can save this file now as invoice 1234, and that's an Excel file. And now then you can change the data here from 1234 to 45678, and then you save it again as a new file. So every invoice, you can save it as a separate Excel file. So that's one approach. The other approach would be to make a copy of this sheet. So I'll show you how. So you can go and move our copy, create a copy. So now it actually created a copy. So when you make a copy, there is an option to say move to end. I should have done that, but you can choose move to end. It'll automatically create it to the end. So I will rename this as 5678 invoice because that's what I'm going to create, and my previous one as 1234. So now I have two invoices, and I can now go ahead and enter my details for my second invoice. Maybe this is for a different customer, and maybe this is for a different rent out date, and the payment due date could be different. And then the items could be different. So I can choose Nikon, I can choose Sony. So basically you now enter the details of the new invoice, and then you can apply a different discount percent, different tax rate if needed, different message to the customer, whatever. So everything is now for a new invoice. Now in the same Excel file, you have two invoices, 1234, 5678. If I want to now create my third, I go move our copy, create a copy, and now I'm going to go and click on this. It'll say asset choice already exists, and now I'm going to say yes to all, and now I've created a new one. So now I can go in and now rename this as 9123, whatever my invoice number is. I'm just making all this up, but you can use a sequential number like invoice 1, invoice 2, invoice 3, so that you have a sequence that you can maintain. So now I can come in here and then change this, and now I can go in here and then say this is for only one asset that I'm renting in this, no problem. And I can choose this to be the third customer in my list, and there we have it. Now we have created 3 invoices all within the same Excel file. And after a certain period of time, after you create a lot of them, then maybe you can archive the file and start new with a new version, so that you always have manageable data in one Excel file. But this is how you can create multiple invoices in one single file. Now let's talk about how you can create receipts. For receipts, you can go in and say, let's say the customer in the first invoice now has made a payment. Now I can come in here, I choose this to receipt. Now immediately the receipt, the paid symbol will come up here because the customer's made the payment. That's the assumption here. You can now see there are two additional fields that popped up. I can enter my payment date. So I can say the customer made payment on, Feb 26th, and then the customer paid using credit card. And so now we have actually are ready to print this receipt, and you can now issue this receipt to your customer. So now the same sheet which served as an invoice now can serve as a receipt that you can issue, and you don't have to re-enter all the data again. So now that's how you can create an invoice and receipt within the same file for any number of invoices and receipts. Now let's talk about how do you manage these invoices and receipts in your for record keeping, right? I strongly recommend that whenever you issue an invoice, so you can issue an invoice by sending a PDF to your customers by email. How do you create so Excel allows you to create PDFs. So you can go to File, Export, and now you'll see that you have an option to create a PDF. So when you create a PDF and store it in your computer or in a cloud drive like OneDrive or Dropbox or anywhere, you're basically storing the file as PDF and you're emailing that to your customer. That is the copy or the record, the file on record. You want to store those and make sure that it's easily accessible. And that's the way you have a record apart from just the Excel file. It's strongly recommended that you have a PDF version. When you create the PDF, name it with your invoice number, and then you say invoice 1234, receipt 1234. So you have those files available in case you need it later. So that's how I would recommend you to keep record of all of them. You can also print these. Excel allows you to just go to print, and you'll see that the invoice will appear like this. You can print it. And if in case you need to store the paper version of it, you can. If you have to mail or send a letter of this to your customer, you can then put it in an envelope and mail them. Those are options if in case that's how you manage in your business. Those options are also available. Now, finally, I want to go back to some of the limitations of the template. The limitations are there are only 20 lines available in each invoice. So if you have more than 20 items, 20 different assets that you rent out in one invoice, I think we need to extend it further. That would require some customization. If in case in your business you don't rent assets on a daily basis, you rent it at the hourly level. For example, you rent for 5 hours or 2 hours and you charge them per hour, then this template wouldn't fit nicely for that situation. So we'll be coming up with a new template that'll handle hourly rental. But this template is useful where you're renting for days, 1 day, 2 days, or any number of days. If you're renting out daily and charging the customer per day, that's when this template is applicable. So that's a limitation as well. I hope that this template is useful to help with your business to create invoices and receipts. We really look forward to your feedback on how this is useful or if this is useful, and other suggestions to make it more useful so that we can continue to develop solutions that will actually address business needs. You can download this template for free from Indzara.com. And if you have any feedback or questions, please put them in the comments and share with your friends as well. And I will see you all in the next video. Thank you very much for watching.